Arrival at the Action Zoo. Kayla stepped off the shuttle, her heart racing with anticipation. The Action Embarkation Center loomed before her, a stark contrast to Earth's familiar landscapes. Its sleek, white architecture shimmered under an alien sun, casting long shadows on the polished tiles below. As she adjusted her translator band, a device that converted her English into soft, melodic Action speech, she couldn't shake off the feeling that she was stepping into a world both wondrous and terrifying. A world apart. The sterile corridors stretched endlessly, their bright lights illuminating every corner. Kayla had been navigating this bureaucratic maze for weeks, battling through forms and permissions just to gain access to what was rumored to be one of the most extraordinary places in the galaxy, the Action Zoo of rare specimens. But today felt different. Today felt like a turning point. With each click-clack of her heels against the tiles, frustration bubbled beneath her composed exterior. Why is this so difficult? She muttered under her breath. Just then, she spotted Silax, an Action she had met during her previous visits. His tall figure emerged from around a corner, his delicate antennae twitching slightly as he recognized her. "Kayla, I didn't expect you here today," he trilled, his voice resonating with an otherworldly charm. "Neither did I," she replied quickly, trying to mask her irritation. "But I'm determined to see the zoo today. What else do I need to do?" Silax's expression shifted from surprise to concern. "You must understand, Kayla. Even if I grant you permission, there are many who believe your presence could disturb our exhibits. The weight of perception." Kayla felt a pang in her chest at his words. On Earth, she was just another journalist chasing stories. Here, she was seen as something else entirely, an unsettling anomaly. "I'm not here to cause trouble," she insisted. "I want to learn about your world." Silax sighed deeply, his antennae drooping slightly as if weighed down by centuries of tradition. "Humans have been known to provoke fear in our species," he explained gently. "Your emotions are intense. You resemble predators from our past." Her heart sank at his admission. It was a stark reminder that despite her intentions, she was perceived as a threat. "But isn't that why we need to interact? To understand each other better?" Her voice wavered slightly as vulnerability crept in. "Perhaps," Silax conceded after a moment's thought. "But you must tread carefully." A fragile agreement. Kayla's determination flared anew at his words. "I can handle it," she asserted confidently. "Just give me a chance." After what felt like an eternity of silence, Silax finally relented. "Very well," he said slowly. "You may have a limited tour, minimal interaction with other actions." He hesitated before adding, "if you can control your instincts." "My instincts?" She raised an eyebrow at him. "Your predatory nature," he clarified softly. A mix of anger and embarrassment washed over her at his words, but she pushed it aside for now. This was her opportunity, a chance to bridge worlds that had long been divided by fear and misunderstanding. "Deal," she said firmly, extending her hand toward him. Silax regarded her hand cautiously before clasping it with two of his own, his cool exoskeleton sending a shiver down her spine as they made contact for the first time. "Follow me," he instructed gently but firmly. "And please try not to walk too loudly. It disturbs our specimens." Entering the zoo. As they moved through the corridors towards the zoo entrance, Kayla couldn't help but marvel at how different everything felt here compared to Earth. Every step echoed with potential discoveries waiting just beyond each door. Upon entering the zoo itself, Kayla's breath caught in her throat at what lay before her. Vast habitats filled with vibrant flora and fauna that seemed almost magical in their diversity. There were no cages or bars here. Instead, carefully crafted environments mimicked natural habitats from across galaxies, lush jungles teeming with life and crystalline caverns glowing softly in hues she had never seen before. "Where are they?" she asked breathlessly as she scanned their surroundings. Silax pointed toward a tangle of luminescent vines hanging overhead where small creatures peeked out cautiously from their hiding spots. beady yellow eyes watching them intently before vanishing back into safety. "They are watching you," Silax explained quietly. "Most have never encountered your kind before." Kayla felt a mixture of excitement and trepidation wash over her as they continued deeper into this alien world, a world where she was both an intruder and an explorer. The journey begins. Each new habitat revealed strange yet beautiful creatures that seemed more curious than hostile. Each interaction leaving Kayla more aware of how deeply ingrained fear was within both species' psyches. As they ventured further into this realm of wonderment and anxiety intertwined, Kayla began to understand that this journey would not merely be about observing alien life. It would also be about confronting fears, her own as well as those held by others, and perhaps finding common ground amidst their differences. This was only the beginning. There were many more discoveries ahead, and perhaps even hope for understanding between humans and actions, if only they could learn to see beyond fear itself. The tour begins. As Kayla followed Silax deeper into the action zoo, her heart raced with a mixture of excitement and trepidation. The vast expanse of the zoo unfolded before her, revealing a world that was both alien and breathtaking. Unlike anything she had ever seen on Earth, the habitats were designed to mimic the natural environments of the creatures housed within them. Each section was a carefully curated ecosystem, alive with colors and sounds that felt almost magical. A new perspective. Kayla glanced around, her eyes wide with wonder. The first habitat they entered resembled a lush jungle, filled with towering plants that glowed faintly in shades of blue and green. Strange sounds echoed all around, chirps, rustles, and low hums that filled the air with an otherworldly symphony. She felt a thrill run through her. This was what she had come here for, an opportunity to witness life beyond her imagination. "What do you think?" Silax asked, his voice soft yet resonant. "It's incredible," Kayla replied, unable to hide her enthusiasm. "I've never seen anything like this." Silax nodded, his antennae twitching slightly. "It is important to us to create environments that allow our specimens to thrive. We believe that understanding their natural behaviors is key to their well-being." First encounters. As they moved further into the jungle habitat, Kayla caught sight of movement among the foliage. A small creature, no larger than her hand, darted between the leaves. It had iridescent skin that shimmered as it moved, reflecting the vibrant colors of its surroundings. Kayla stepped closer, her curiosity piqued. "Can I?" she began, but stopped short as Silax raised a hand. "Be cautious," he warned. "Many of our specimens are not accustomed to human presence." Kayla hesitated but couldn't resist the urge to observe this fascinating creature up close. As she took a step forward, it froze, its tiny eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her heart skip a beat. For a moment, they shared a silent communication, a momentary understanding between two beings from vastly different worlds. "See," Silax said quietly. "It senses your intent." Kayla felt a rush of pride at his words, but quickly reminded herself of the responsibility that came with being here. She was not just an observer. She was a guest in this alien world. The heart of the zoo. Continuing their tour, Silax led her through various habitats, each more astonishing than the last. They entered a cavern filled with bioluminescent fungi that illuminated the space in soft hues of purple and pink. Creatures resembling jellyfish floated gracefully through the air, their tentacles trailing behind them like ribbons in water. "Are they safe?" Kayla asked, captivated by their ethereal beauty. "They are harmless," Silax assured her. "They feed on light and nutrients from the fungi." Kayla watched as one of the jellyfish-like creatures drifted closer to her face. She held her breath, mesmerized by its delicate movements. It paused for just a moment before gliding away into the depths of the cavern. "Everything here has its place," Silax explained. "We strive for balance in our ecosystems." Kayla nodded thoughtfully, realizing how much she had taken for granted back on Earth, the delicate interconnections that sustained life everywhere. A moment of connection. As they exited the cavern, They found themselves in an arid landscape dotted with strange rock formations and vibrant desert flora. Kayla felt an odd sense of familiarity. It reminded her of Earth's deserts, but with an alien twist. Suddenly, something caught her eye. A large reptilian creature basking in the sun atop one of the rocks. Its scales glimmered in shades of gold and green, and it had piercing yellow eyes that seemed to study her intently. "What is that?" she whispered in awe. "That is a Zenora," Silax replied. "They are known for their intelligence and adaptability." Kayla took a cautious step closer, feeling an inexplicable connection to this creature. As if sensing her presence, it lifted its head and blinked slowly at her, a gesture she interpreted as curiosity rather than aggression. "It's beautiful," she breathed. "Yes," Silax agreed softly. "But remember, beauty can also be dangerous." Kayla nodded solemnly. She understood now that every creature had its own story, its own struggles and triumphs. And she was merely an observer in this intricate tapestry of life. The weight of understanding. As they continued their tour, Kayla felt a growing awareness of how her presence affected these creatures. Each time she approached one, there was a palpable tension in the air, a reminder that fear was an instinct deeply ingrained in them. "Why do they react this way?" she asked Silax as they walked past another habitat filled with shimmering aquatic life. "It is instinct," he replied thoughtfully. "Many species have evolved without predators like humans. Your very existence can trigger fear responses." Kayla felt a pang of guilt at his words, but also a determination to change perceptions, not just for herself, but for all humans who might follow in her footsteps. "I want to help them understand," she said resolutely. "I want to show them we're not all monsters." Silax regarded her with an expression that mixed skepticism and hope. "That is a noble goal," he said slowly. "But change takes time. A new challenge." Just then, an alarm blared through the zoo, a sharp sound that shattered the tranquility surrounding them. Kayla jumped at the sudden noise while Silax's antennae perked up in alarm. "What's happening?" Kayla asked urgently. "There has been an incident," Silax replied tersely as he turned toward the source of the commotion. Without thinking twice, Kayla followed him as he hurried down a corridor toward one of the larger habitats, the one housing some of the most dangerous creatures in the zoo. As they approached, chaos erupted around them. Axion staff members rushed to contain whatever had gone wrong inside. The air crackled with tension as creatures roared and screeched, sounds that sent chills down Kayla's spine. "Stay close," Silax ordered as they navigated through panicked crowds. Kayla's heart raced. This was not what she had anticipated when she set out on this adventure. But deep down, she knew this was also part of understanding the unpredictable nature of life itself. Facing fear together, they reached the habitat entrance just as doors slid open with a hiss. A massive creature, a hulking beast covered in scales, burst forth into view, its eyes wild with fear and confusion. "Get back," an Axion shouted as staff members scrambled to regain control. In that moment, Kayla saw not just danger but also desperation reflected in the creature's eyes. It wasn't attacking out of malice. It was simply scared and trying to escape its confines. "Wait," Kayla shouted impulsively before realizing how foolish it sounded amidst chaos. Silax turned sharply toward her, his expression alarmed yet intrigued by her boldness. "What are you doing?" "I can't just stand here," Kayla insisted as she stepped forward instinctively toward the creature. The beast paused mid-charge as if sensing something different about this human. It hesitated just long enough for Kayla to reach out slowly with an open hand. "Easy now," she murmured softly, not knowing if it could understand but hoping it would feel her intention through sheer empathy alone. To everyone's astonishment, including her own, the creature halted completely before lowering its massive head slightly toward her outstretched palm. This moment marked not only a turning point for Kayla, but also for all those watching. Perhaps fear could be met with understanding after all. The incident. Kayla stood frozen, her heart racing as the massive Zenora slithered away into the shadows. The encounter had been surreal, a moment where fear and wonder intertwined. She glanced at Silax, who seemed both amused and impressed by her bravery. "Did it really ask if I was dangerous?" she asked, still trying to process what had just happened. "Yes," Silax replied, his antennae twitching with a hint of pride. "You are more than just an apex predator in their eyes. You are also a potential ally. But remember, not all creatures will be so understanding." The calm before the storm. As they continued their tour, Kayla felt a newfound sense of purpose. She was determined to show that humans could coexist with actions, that they could bridge the gap of fear and misunderstanding. However, her thoughts were interrupted by an unsettling rumble that echoed through the zoo. "What was that?" Kayla asked, her voice tinged with concern. Silax paused, his expression shifting to one of alertness. "I do not know. It could be a disturbance in one of the habitats. We should investigate." They hurried down a narrow corridor leading to the source of the noise. The walls vibrated slightly beneath their feet as they approached a large viewing window overlooking one of the main habitats, a vast expanse filled with alien flora and fauna. Chaos unleashed. As they reached the window, Kayla's stomach dropped at the sight before her. Inside the habitat, a group of Action staff members were scrambling to contain a situation that had spiraled out of control. A massive creature, resembling a cross between a rhinoceros and an alligator, was thrashing about in panic, sending debris flying in all directions. "What's happening?" Kayla exclaimed, pressing her hands against the glass. "An escape attempt," Silax replied grimly. "The creature must have sensed something amiss and is reacting violently." Kayla watched in horror as the creature charged toward one of the staff members, who barely managed to dodge its massive bulk. Panic spread among the onlookers as they realized how dangerous this situation had become. "We need to help them," Kayla shouted, adrenaline coursing through her veins. "No," Silax insisted, grabbing her arm gently but firmly. "You cannot intervene. It would only escalate the situation." A moment of decision. Kayla's mind raced as she weighed her options. She couldn't just stand by and watch innocent beings get hurt, Axian or human. "There has to be something we can do," she argued. Silax hesitated for a moment before speaking again. "Perhaps, if you can communicate with it," he suggested cautiously. "Your presence might calm it down." "Me?" Kayla's heart raced at the thought of facing such a beast directly. But deep down, she felt an undeniable pull. This was her chance to prove herself. "Trust your instincts," Silax encouraged softly. With determination flooding her senses, Kayla nodded resolutely. "Okay, I'll try." Facing the beast, without waiting for further discussion, she rushed toward the emergency exit leading into the habitat area. As she stepped through the door, she felt an overwhelming wave of energy wash over her. The creature's fear was palpable in the air around her. Kayla took a deep breath and focused on projecting calmness as she approached the rampaging beast. It was larger than anything she had ever seen, a hulking mass of muscle and scales that seemed to radiate raw power. "Easy now," she called out softly, trying to keep her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature paused mid-charge, its massive head swiveling toward her with wide eyes, filled with confusion and fear. For a moment, time seemed to freeze as they locked eyes. Two beings from different worlds caught in an unexpected moment of connection. A glimmer of hope. Kayla took another step forward, lowering herself slightly to appear less threatening. "It's okay," she murmured again, channeling every ounce of empathy she could muster. "You're safe now." To her surprise, the creature hesitated further before slowly lowering its head closer to her level. It snorted softly, a sound that echoed through the habitat like thunder, but there was no aggression behind it. Just then, Silax appeared at the entrance behind her, watching intently as Kayla engaged with the creature. "You're doing well," he whispered encouragingly from afar. Kayla felt a surge of confidence at his words and continued speaking softly to the beast. You don't need to be afraid, she reassured it gently. We're here to help you. Breaking barriers. As if sensing her sincerity, the creature began to relax its stance slightly, its muscles unwinding from their tense state. It blinked slowly at Kayla, an acknowledgement that sent warmth flooding through her chest. Suddenly, another loud crash echoed from behind them, as an Action staff member lost control of some equipment in their efforts to regain order outside the habitat area. The creature jolted at the sound and began thrashing again, this time even more violently than before. Stay calm, Kayla shouted instinctively as panic threatened to take hold once more. In that moment of chaos, something shifted within her. She realized that this creature needed more than just words. It needed assurance that everything would be all right. A leap of faith. With renewed determination coursing through her veins, Kayla took another step closer and reached out slowly toward its massive snout. She could feel Silax's eyes on her, watching closely yet trusting in her instincts. Please, she whispered earnestly as she touched its cool scales gently with trembling fingers. Let me help you. To her astonishment, instead of pulling away or charging again, the creature leaned into her touch ever so slightly, a sign of trust that ignited hope within Kayla's heart. Good boy, she breathed out in relief as tears prickled at the corners of her eyes. This was not just about saving an individual. It was about breaking down barriers between species and proving that understanding could triumph over fear. The turning point. Slowly but surely, other staff members began to approach cautiously from behind Kayla, sensing that perhaps this human might hold some key to calming their agitated specimen after all. With each passing moment spent connecting with this magnificent being, a creature once seen only as a threat, Kayla felt herself transforming into something greater than just an observer. She was becoming an advocate for compassion across worlds. Finally, feeling confident enough in their bond together, the Zenora and its newfound ally, Kayla turned back toward Silax and shouted, "We need to guide him back. He just wants safety." With renewed purpose coursing through them all, the Actions rallied around Kayla's lead as they worked together harmoniously under her guidance, to slowly usher their frightened friend back toward his habitat while restoring peace throughout this chaotic environment once more. In this moment, a fragile yet powerful connection forged between human and alien. They began paving pathways toward understanding amidst fear. Understanding fear. As the dust settled from the chaos of the previous incident, Kayla stood in the habitat, her heart still racing. The Zenora had retreated, but the adrenaline coursing through her veins was a reminder of how quickly fear could escalate into panic. Silax remained close, his antennae twitching as he assessed the aftermath. A moment of reflection. "Are you all right?" Silax asked, his voice softening as he noticed Kayla's shaken demeanor. "I think so," she replied, taking a deep breath to steady herself. That was intense. It is often in moments of crisis that we learn the most, Silax said thoughtfully. You faced your fear and connected with the creature in a way few have managed before. Kayla nodded, still processing what had just happened. But what if I hadn't been able to calm it down? What if someone got hurt? Fear is a powerful force, Silax acknowledged. It can lead to both destruction and understanding. You witnessed that firsthand today. Kayla looked around at the habitat, now eerily quiet. The creatures that had once scuttled and fluttered about were now hidden away, their instincts driving them to seek safety. She felt a pang of empathy for them. They were not just specimens in a zoo, but living beings with their own fears and struggles. Learning from fear. As they walked through the now calm habitat, Kayla's mind raced with thoughts about fear and its effects, not just on the Actions, but on humans as well. She recalled her own experiences back on Earth, how fear could cloud judgment and lead to misunderstandings. Do you think fear is universal? She asked Silax, curious about his perspective. Indeed, Kayla considered his words carefully. But isn't it possible to overcome those fears? To find common ground? Silax paused, his antennae flickering thoughtfully. It is possible, but it requires understanding and patience from both sides. A new challenge emerges. Just then, another alarm blared through the zoo, a sharp sound that sent a ripple of tension through Kayla's body. She turned to Silax, her heart racing again. "What now?" she asked anxiously. "It seems there is another disturbance," he said, his expression shifting to one of concern. "We must investigate." They hurried toward the source of the noise, navigating through corridors filled with anxious staff members rushing to contain whatever chaos had erupted this time. As they approached a large viewing window overlooking one of the main habitats again, Kayla felt her stomach drop. Inside the habitat, a different creature, a massive quadruped with long limbs and iridescent skin, was thrashing about wildly. Its eyes were wide with panic as it tried to escape an unseen threat. "What's wrong with it?" Kayla asked urgently. "It appears it has become agitated by something in its environment," Silax explained quickly. "We need to act fast before it injures itself or anyone else." Facing new fears together, without thinking twice, Kayla stepped forward again, feeling an overwhelming sense of responsibility wash over her. She couldn't let another creature suffer because of fear, hers or theirs. "Let me try talking to it," she said firmly. Silax hesitated for a moment, but then nodded in agreement. "Very well. I will assist you." As they entered the habitat area together, Kayla focused on projecting calmness once more. The creature's frantic movements sent waves of anxiety rippling through her. She could feel its fear resonating in her own chest. "Easy now," she called out softly as she approached cautiously. "I'm not here to hurt you." The creature paused mid-thrash, its large eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made her heart race again. For a moment, time seemed to stand still as they shared an unspoken connection, a moment where fear began to give way to understanding. Building bridges. With each step closer she took, Kayla felt herself becoming more attuned to the creature's emotions. Its confusion and desperation mirrored her own feelings from earlier that day. "Just breathe," she murmured gently as she reached out slowly toward its massive head, her hand trembling slightly as she made contact with its smooth skin. To her surprise, instead of pulling away or becoming more agitated, the creature leaned into her touch ever so slightly, a sign that it was beginning to trust her presence. "That's it," she whispered encouragingly as she continued stroking its head gently. "You're safe now." Silax watched from a distance, his expression a mix of admiration and astonishment at how Kayla was managing the situation once again. A lesson in empathy, as she connected with this magnificent being, a creature once seen only as a threat. Kayla felt herself transforming yet again into something greater than just an observer. She was becoming an advocate for compassion across worlds. With each passing moment spent calming this creature down, Kayla realized that understanding fear was not just about overcoming it. It was about recognizing shared vulnerabilities among all beings regardless of their origins. Finally, feeling confident enough in their bond together, the quadruped and its newfound ally, Kayla turned back towards Silax and shouted, "We need to guide it back. It just wants safety." With renewed purpose coursing through them all, the Actions rallied around Kayla's lead as they worked together harmoniously under her guidance to slowly usher their frightened friend back toward its habitat while restoring peace throughout this chaotic environment once more. In this moment, a fragile yet powerful connection forged between human and alien. They began paving pathways toward understanding amidst fear. The aftermath. Once inside its habitat again, the quadruped settled down visibly relieved. Its breathing slowed as it relaxed against the cool ground beneath it, no longer feeling threatened by external forces or internal anxieties. Kayla exhaled deeply. This was not just about saving another individual, but breaking down barriers between species and proving that empathy could triumph over fear once more. "Thank you for your help," Silax said quietly beside her after everything calmed down significantly around them both. Kayla smiled at him gratefully. Their bond had grown stronger through these shared experiences, their understanding deepening even further than before. I couldn't have done it without your support, she replied sincerely before glancing back at the now peaceful creature resting comfortably nearby. A reminder that even amidst chaos there existed hope for connection across worlds. The revelation. As the dust settled from the chaotic incidents earlier, Kayla found herself reflecting on the day's events. The Zenora and the quadruped had shown her the raw power of fear, not just in their reactions, but in how it resonated within her as well. Yet, amidst the turmoil, she had also discovered that understanding could bridge even the widest chasms of fear. A new perspective. After the creatures had been safely returned to their habitats, Kayla and Silax stood in a quiet corner of the zoo. The air was thick with an unspoken tension, but it was different now, charged with possibility rather than fear. I can't believe how quickly everything escalated, Kayla said, her voice low as she gazed at the shimmering walls of the habitat. It's like a reminder that fear can change everything in an instant. Silax nodded, his antennae flickering thoughtfully. Fear is a primal instinct. It can protect us, but also blind us to understanding. Today, you faced that fear head-on. Kayla felt a swell of pride at his words, but also a lingering unease. But what if I hadn't been able to calm them down? What if I had made things worse? Then we would have learned from it, Silax replied gently. Every encounter is an opportunity for growth, both for you and for us. The weight of responsibility. Kayla pondered his words as they walked along the edge of another habitat filled with vibrant alien flora. She felt a growing sense of responsibility, not just for herself, but for all humans who might follow in her footsteps. If she could help bridge this gap between species, perhaps others could too. What if we could change their perception? She mused aloud, her mind racing with possibilities. What if we could show them that humans aren't just predators? Silax turned to her, his eyes brightening with interest. That is an ambitious goal, Kayla. How do you envision achieving it? I don't know yet, she admitted, frustration creeping into her voice. But I think it starts with understanding each other better, learning about their fears and finding ways to address them. A call to action. Just then, a commotion erupted nearby. A group of Axion staff members gathered around a large viewing window, their voices raised in concern. Kayla exchanged a glance with Silax before rushing over to see what was happening. As they approached, Kayla's heart sank at the sight before her. Another creature, a massive, multi-limbed being, was thrashing about inside its habitat, clearly agitated by something unseen. What's going on? Kayla asked one of the staff members who stood nearby. It's a Balthor, the Axion explained hurriedly. It's become agitated due to an unknown disturbance in its environment. Kayla felt a familiar surge of determination rise within her. We need to help it. Silax placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. Kayla, you must be cautious. The Balthor is unpredictable when frightened. I know, she said firmly, shaking off his concern. But if I can connect with it like I did with the Zenora and the quadruped, maybe I can help calm it down. Taking action. Without waiting for further discussion, Kayla stepped toward the habitat entrance again, feeling a rush of adrenaline course through her veins. She could sense Silax's hesitation behind her, but pressed forward anyway. As she entered the habitat area, she took a deep breath and focused on projecting calmness once more. The Balthor's many eyes were wide with fear as it thrashed about, sending debris flying in all directions. Easy now, she called softly, trying to keep her voice steady despite the chaos surrounding her. I'm not here to hurt you. The creature paused mid-thrash, its many limbs freezing as it turned its attention toward her. For a moment, they locked eyes, two beings caught in a moment of shared fear and uncertainty. Finding common ground, Kayla took another step forward and extended her hand slowly toward the Balthor. You're safe now, she murmured gently. To her surprise, instead of lunging away or becoming more agitated, the creature hesitated further before slowly lowering its many limbs to the ground, a sign that it was beginning to trust her presence. Good boy, she breathed out in relief as she continued speaking softly to it. You don't need to be afraid. Silax watched from a distance, his expression one of awe as he witnessed Kayla engaging with yet another creature in distress. Keep talking to it, he encouraged quietly from afar. As Kayla continued to soothe the Balfour with her words and gentle movements, she felt a sense of connection forming between them, a bond forged through empathy and understanding. The turning point. Just then, another loud crash echoed from outside the habitat, a reminder that chaos could erupt at any moment. The Balfour jolted at the sound but didn't retreat. Instead, it seemed to lean slightly toward Kayla, as if seeking comfort from her presence. "Stay calm," she shouted instinctively as panic threatened to take hold once more. In that moment of chaos, something shifted within Kayla. She realized that this creature needed more than just words. It needed assurance that everything would be all right. With renewed determination coursing through her veins, Kayla took another step closer and reached out slowly toward its many limbs, her hand trembling slightly as she made contact. The Balfour leaned into her touch ever so slightly, a sign of trust that ignited hope within Kayla's heart. A moment of clarity. As they stood together amidst uncertainty, the Balfour and its newfound ally, Kayla felt herself transforming yet again into something greater than just an observer. She was becoming an advocate for compassion across worlds. Finally, feeling confident enough in their bond together, the Balfour and its human companion, Kayla turned back towards Silax and shouted, "We need to guide it back. It just wants safety." With renewed purpose coursing through them all, the Actions rallied around Kayla's lead as they worked together harmoniously under her guidance, to slowly usher their frightened friend back toward its habitat while restoring peace throughout this chaotic environment once more. In this moment, a fragile yet powerful connection forged between human and alien. They began paving pathways toward understanding amidst fear. The aftermath. Once inside its habitat again, the Balfour settled down visibly relieved. Its breathing slowed as it relaxed against the cool ground beneath it, no longer feeling threatened by external forces or internal anxieties. Kayla exhaled deeply. This was not just about saving another individual, but breaking down barriers between species and proving that empathy could triumph over fear once more. "Thank you for your help," Silax said quietly beside her after everything calmed down significantly around them both. Kayla smiled at him gratefully. Their bond had grown stronger through these shared experiences, their understanding deepening even further than before. "I couldn't have done it without your support," she replied sincerely before glancing back at the now peaceful creature resting comfortably nearby, a reminder that even amidst chaos, there existed hope for connection across worlds. A new beginning. As they left the habitat behind them and ventured deeper into the zoo once more, Kayla felt invigorated by what they had accomplished together today. Perhaps this was only just beginning, the first steps toward forging lasting connections between humans and Actions alike. With each encounter came new lessons learned, new opportunities for growth, and perhaps even hope for future cooperation across galaxies. In this vast universe filled with wonders yet unseen, there lay infinite possibilities waiting patiently beneath layers of fear. And together, with courage guiding them forward, they would uncover those possibilities one encounter at a time.